Take a look at this. Here's a Star Wars scene with two suns, one pink and one red. On the left, you can see the original high-quality version with smooth, clean circles. On the right, after YouTube compression, something weird happens. The red sun stays relatively crisp, but the pink one, it's a pixelated mess. This isn't your imagination, and it's not just Star Wars. Pink consistently breaks on YouTube in ways other colors don't. Let's break it down step by step. The moment you upload a video to YouTube, it starts converting it into several versions at different resolutions and bit rates. This is called transcoding. The goal is to make your video playable on all sorts of devices like phones, TVs, and even bad hotel Wi-Fi. But to do that, YouTube needs to shrink your file fast. And shrinking means throwing away data carefully and in a way people hopefully don't notice. The problem is, pink is one of the first things to get sacrificed. Why? We first need to know how YouTube stores color. Most videos you upload and most formats YouTube uses aren't RGB like your computer screen. Instead, they use YCbCr color space, which splits the image into one channel for brightness, that's the Y, and two channels for color, CB, blue minus luminance, and CR, red minus luminance. Human vision is highly tuned to brightness. You notice changes in light and shadow way more than you notice small shifts in color. So YouTube and some other popular video compression systems take advantage of that. They prioritize sharp luminance, the Y channel, and heavily compress the color channels, CB and CR. And pink lives mostly in those compressed channels and starts to look really messy. But with good design, there's no such thing as looking messy, because today's video is brought to you by Mobbin, the ultimate design inspiration platform for creators like you. Imagine having access to over 500,000 real-world app screens and 80,000 user flows from 1,200 industry-leading apps all at your fingertips. That's Mobbin. And I have a 20% discount for it just for you. Forget sifting through conceptual designs or manually taking screenshots for hours. Mobbin empowers you to find highly relevant design references in seconds. Whether you're benchmarking competitors, researching UI patterns, or staying up to date with the latest trends, Mobbin has you covered. With powerful features like NLP search, visual search, and text in screenshot search, you can find exactly what you need when you need it. And with their Figma plugin, you can export screens directly into your workspace. From freelancers to enterprise teams, Mobbin offers plans to suit every need. Join over 870,000 designers worldwide who are using Mobbin to create great digital experiences faster and smarter. Check out Mobbin today and elevate your design game. Links in the description below. You see, pink has relatively low brightness, but intense chroma, especially in the red channel, CR. So while something like sharp black text or bright white highlights gets preserved in the luminance layer, pink is mostly living in the color channels that YouTube treats as second-class citizens. The luminance stays sharp, but the color that makes pink pink gets muddy, smeared, or dropped entirely. It gets worse with the next step, Chroma subsampling. YouTube uses a color format called 4x2x0, which means it stores full resolution brightness, but color is only stored at 1/4 the resolution. It averages the color over blocks of 4 pixels. That's fine if the color is flat or doesn't carry important edge detail, but pink does. Think lipstick, blush, sunsets, neon lights. The color information there is detailed and important, and YouTube and other video platforms are flattening it. That's why pink lips in a video can blur into the skin tone next to them, or why soft pink clouds suddenly have jagged outlines or blocky artifacts. The color resolution is literally missing, thrown away before it even gets encoded. But that's not all YouTube does. After subsampling, each video frame is broken into tiny blocks, let's say 8x8 pixels, and each of those blocks goes through the discrete cosine transformation, or DCT. This basically turns visual detail into math. Low frequencies describe smooth areas, high frequencies capture sharp edges. Once transformed, the next step is quantization, and this is where the most detail gets lost. Quantization rounds off the frequency data so it fits into fewer bits. In other words, it discards what's considered unimportant. The logic here is simple. People notice changes in brightness and contrast way more than fine color variation. So YouTube aggressively discards high-frequency color detail, especially in the CB and CR channels. And pink, unfortunately, is rich in exactly that kind of detail. Soft gradients, delicate edges, subtle transitions. So when YouTube quantizes those blocks, well, pink gets crushed. It turns to mush in the corners of those tasty fruit bowls. It disappears in animated backgrounds. It falls apart in low-light shots where the luminance is already muted and chroma becomes the only thing holding shape. Once those pinkish details are gone, there's no getting them back. Even worse, most YouTube videos are 8-bit, meaning each of the channels, Y, CB, and CR, only has 256 possible values. And that's not enough to represent smooth color gradients, especially if your pink gradient spans a wide range. This is called color banding, and pink is particularly vulnerable to it. The human eye is more forgiving of blue and green gradients, but when pink breaks, it really breaks. And this problem isn't limited to just your eyes. Even your monitor might be working against you. A Reddit user noticed intense color banding across YouTube videos and games. Turns out, their LG 29UM58P monitor was a 6-bit plus FRC panel. That means instead of showing 16.7 million true colors like an 8-bit panel, it only supports around 260,000 and pretty much fakes the rest, using fast flickering or frame rate control. The result? Visible blocks and banding all over, especially in smooth gradients like skies, shadows, and of course, you guessed it, pinks. Even when using an 8-bit panel, if your GPU is set to limited dynamic range, which sometimes resets after a driver update, you can still get banding. But on a 6-bit panel, there's just no escaping it. The hardware simply doesn't have the fidelity to show smooth pink transitions, no matter how well you calibrate it. And it's not just the monitor panel or GPU settings. Even when the hardware should be capable of displaying smooth gradients, you still see banding. Just ask anyone who's tried watching pink-heavy YouTube videos on Windows with HDR turned on. People report nasty color banding, big, obvious chunks of color on walls or skies, even on high-end OLED screens that technically support 10-bit color. One user discovered that the banding disappeared if they zoomed the browser to 175%. Why? Turns out the issue only happened when the video canvas width wasn't a multiple of 4. That's not a user problem, that's a pipeline problem. You might think uploading in higher quality would fix this, like using 4K or uploading in 10-bit. And yes, that does help. YouTube gives better compression treatment to high-res videos, especially when they're encoded with more modern codecs like VP9 or AV1. For AV1, it uses smarter perceptual tricks to figure out what parts of the image people actually notice. So it spends more bits preserving edges, faces, motion detail, and sometimes that helps pink survive. But unless you're watching at 4K resolution or on a device that specifically supports AV1, you're mostly still getting 8-bit video, compressed with 4x2x0 Chroma subsampling and the older VP9 codec. So does YouTube hate pink? Not intentionally, but compression algorithms throw away what people are least likely to notice. And statistically, pink just doesn't rank high. From a machine's perspective, it's not worth the bits. The good news is we're slowly getting better codecs and smarter algorithms, but for now, pink is still first on the chopping block. It's the same thing that happens in dark scenes too. Machines decide what's important. Sometimes it gets left behind and ends up looking terrible.